Marcus Delaney's quiet life shattered in an instant when federal agents stormed his Chicago apartment, exposing a chilling plot to assassinate political commentator Charlie Kirk and uncovering a hidden network of accomplices that no one saw coming. The morning air in downtown Chicago carried an uneasy stillness as unmarked vehicles rolled into a quiet neighborhood before dawn. Officers dressed in tactical gear surrounded a modest brick apartment building while neighbors peered from their windows, unaware of the magnitude of what was unfolding. Inside, Marcus Delaney was startled awake by the sound of a battering ram splintering his door. Within seconds, he was on the floor, wrist-bound, his expression blank as officers swept through every room. News of the arrest traveled faster than the first light of day. By mid-morning, television screens across the country flashed with breaking banners announcing that a suspect had been taken into custody for the attempted assassination of political commentator Charlie Kirk. For many viewers, the name Marcus Delaney meant nothing, and that anonymity only deepened the shock. Detectives quickly began combing through the apartment, documenting every detail with photographs and evidence bags. What they uncovered seemed to contradict the portrait of an unremarkable man. Hidden compartments beneath floorboards contained high-powered weapons and boxes of ammunition. A laptop left open on a cluttered desk displayed encrypted files that resisted immediate access. On one wall, a collage of city maps, event schedules, and newspaper clippings was pinned in a chaotic pattern. Red string connected certain dates and locations, forming a network of lines that suggested months of careful planning. Investigators also discovered a locked metal case containing multiple identification cards with different names and states of residence, each bearing Delaney's likeness. As the scene unfolded, neighbors whispered their disbelief to reporters gathering on the street. They described Delaney as polite but distant, a man who kept irregular hours and rarely spoke more than a few words. No one had ever suspected a violent streak. Yet the evidence told another story entirely. Authorities found a trail of online purchases for surveillance equipment and chemical compounds that raised further alarms. Forensic technicians collected every scrap of paper, every device, even the smallest memory card, knowing that each clue might reveal the motive behind a crime that had already captured national attention. By the time Marcus Delaney was transported to a federal holding facility, the city buzzed with speculation. How could someone with no prior criminal record and no visible ties to extremist groups find himself at the center of such a calculated and brazen plot? The question echoed across newsrooms and living rooms alike, setting the stage for a case that promised to be far more complicated than anyone could have imagined. While Marcus Delaney sat in a stark federal interrogation room, investigators worked around the clock to peel back the layers of his hidden life. The encrypted laptop seized from his apartment became the key to the next stage of discovery. Cybercrime specialists spent hours breaking through multiple security barriers, finally revealing a labyrinth of digital trails that suggested Delaney's actions were part of something far bigger than a lone plot. Buried beneath ordinary files labeled with mundane titles were folders filled with coded communications, suspicious financial transactions, and obscure online handles that connected to shadowy corners of the internet. The most startling revelation came from a series of chat logs that hinted at an international network operating in secrecy. The language was careful, using phrases that at first seemed harmless, but when analyzed, revealed instructions and updates about surveillance targets. Payments traced through cryptocurrency wallets led investigators to shell companies scattered across different countries, each designed to hide the flow of money. These transfers were substantial and carefully timed, suggesting that Delaney was receiving support and resources from people who understood how to stay invisible. In another hidden folder, agents uncovered encrypted video files showing Delaney methodically tracking the movements of several well-known figures over the course of months. Grainy but unmistakable footage captured him watching airports, hotels, and event venues, always maintaining a careful distance. Each clip came with digital notes outlining schedules, security details, and vulnerabilities. What appeared at first to be an isolated attempt on a single person's life was quickly transforming into a possible blueprint for multiple coordinated attacks. As the evidence mounted, investigators broadened their search to include any contacts Delaney might have had. Phone records revealed a string of disposable numbers that led nowhere. Yet one message thread stood out, a single conversation with an unidentified user known only by a numerical code. The exchanges were brief but loaded with urgency, mentioning final preparations and secure exits, phrases that sent chills through the team reviewing them. Every new discovery only deepened the mystery. Delaney, once described as a quiet loner, was now emerging as a central figure in a sophisticated conspiracy that spanned borders and operated in the shadows of the digital world. Authorities realized they were no longer dealing with a single suspect, but with the possibility of a hidden network capable of far-reaching violence, forcing them to move quickly before the next phase of the plan could unfold. Just as investigators believed they were gaining control of the situation, a dramatic turn reshaped the case overnight. Federal prosecutors convened an emergency press briefing to announce that Marcus Delaney was facing an expanded list of charges far beyond the attempted assassination of Charlie Kirk. The new accusations included attempted cyberterrorism, illegal firearms trafficking, and conspiracy to commit acts of domestic terrorism. Each charge carried severe penalties and painted a picture of a plot far more intricate than anyone had first imagined. Journalists scrambled to relay the details as the nation absorbed the unsettling news that the original crime might have been only one piece of a larger coordinated plan. Forensic teams had spent days meticulously analyzing Delaney's seized electronics, and their findings revealed a disturbing level of sophistication. Hidden among routine travel documents were digital blueprints for attacks on multiple targets, each file cleverly disguised with harmless names like meeting notes or budget reports. Within these files lay precise schematics of venues, escape routes, and timing strategies that suggested careful study and advanced planning. Experts concluded that these were not the actions of an impulsive individual, but the calculated moves of someone who understood the mechanics of large-scale violence. Investigators also uncovered evidence of a complex supply chain for weapons and equipment. Transactions spread across different states pointed to clandestine purchases of high-powered rifles and unregistered explosives. Delivery records showed that several shipments had been routed through third parties to obscure their final destination. Each discovery heightened the urgency of the investigation, fueling concerns that parts of the plan might still be active or that accomplices could be preparing to act independently. Meanwhile, analysts reviewing the encrypted communications noticed recurring references to the window, a cryptic phrase that appeared in several conversations between Delaney and his unknown contacts. Some experts speculated it referred to a critical time frame for coordinated attacks, while others believed it indicated a specific location yet to be identified. Whatever its meaning, the repetition of the phrase suggested a countdown of sorts, adding pressure to an already tense atmosphere. As these revelations reached the public, fear spread quickly. The story dominated headlines, talk shows, and social media feeds, turning Delaney into a household name and a symbol of hidden dangers. What had begun as a single act of political violence now looked like a sophisticated operation with the potential to shake the country far more deeply than anyone had anticipated, leaving both investigators and citizens on edge as they waited for the next discovery. Investigators widened their search beyond Marcus Delaney's immediate circle, convinced that others were quietly supporting his efforts. Surveillance footage collected from months of activity revealed meetings in locations chosen for their anonymity, dimly lit parking garages, public libraries late at night, and abandoned industrial sites on the outskirts of the city. In each video, Delaney appeared with different individuals whose faces were obscured by hats, masks, or the clever use of camera angles. Facial recognition software yielded no immediate matches, suggesting these contacts had either avoided detection for years or were using sophisticated methods to stay hidden. Financial records deepened the sense of conspiracy. Agents traced a series of payments moving through obscure cryptocurrency exchanges before being converted into cash withdrawals at distant ATMs. The pattern suggested multiple accomplices who were both disciplined and well-informed. One transfer originated from an offshore account linked to a defunct shipping company, while another was funneled through a charitable organization that had quietly dissolved months earlier. Each lead hinted at professional-level planning that went far beyond the abilities of a single isolated operative. Physical evidence provided more clues. Fingerprints belonging to unknown individuals were lifted from the weapons cache found in Delaney's apartment. DNA samples from coffee cups and cigarette butts recovered near meeting spots revealed at least 3 distinct profiles. None matched entries in federal databases, frustrating investigators but confirming that Delaney had not acted alone. Agents working undercover began staking out suspected rendezvous points, but those efforts often ended in dead ends, empty buildings, freshly wiped surfaces, and subtle signs that someone was watching them in return. At the same time, intelligence analysts intercepted online chatter suggesting that Delaney's arrest had forced the hidden network to change course. Encrypted forums carried vague warnings about shifting plans and contingencies in motion. Experts debated whether these were simple scare tactics or signals of an imminent secondary attack. The ambiguity only increased the pressure on law enforcement to act quickly while remaining discreet. The investigation had become a high-stakes race. Every new discovery raised more questions than it answered, revealing a sprawling web of accomplices who seemed to anticipate every move authorities made. As the public followed each breaking headline, it became clear that the threat extended well beyond one man, and that the full scope of the conspiracy remained frustratingly out of reach, waiting in the shadows for the right moment to surface. Marcus Delaney now sits in a high-security federal detention center, isolated from other inmates and monitored every hour of the day, yet the sense of danger has not faded. His arraignment drew massive crowds outside the courthouse, where reporters jostled for space and security lines wrapped around city blocks. Inside, prosecutors outlined a case that read like the script of a spy thriller: attempted assassination, cyberterrorism plots, weapons trafficking, and conspiracy to commit acts of mass violence. Each charge carried decades of potential prison time, but what unsettled the public most was how many questions still remained unanswered. Despite months of investigation, federal agents have not identified all the individuals who helped Delaney prepare for his plans. Several DNA profiles collected from crime scenes remain unmatched. Digital forensics teams continue to chase leads through encrypted channels, but the mysterious figures seen in surveillance footage have disappeared without a trace. Some investigators believe these accomplices left the country the moment Delaney was arrested, while others fear they may still be operating within the United States, quietly regrouping and waiting for an opportunity to strike again. Meanwhile, evidence continues to emerge from hidden corners of Delaney's past. Financial records have revealed years of secret transactions, some dating back nearly a decade, suggesting he was quietly building resources long before Charlie Kirk became a public target. Old storage units linked to false identities contain surveillance equipment, unregistered firearms, and coded notebooks with references to locations and dates that investigators have yet to decipher. Each new find adds weight to the belief that Delaney was only one part of a sprawling network with ambitions far larger than any single attack. The trial itself promises to be one of the most closely watched in recent history. Legal experts predict months of testimony as prosecutors attempt to untangle the complex web of evidence and convince a jury of the broader conspiracy. Security around the courthouse has been tightened to unprecedented levels, with bomb-sniffing dogs and federal agents patrolling every entrance. Yet for all the preparation, the looming fear persists that some hidden plan might still be active. For the public, relief over Delaney's capture is tempered by unease. The unanswered questions linger like a shadow. Who were the unseen collaborators, and how much of their plan remains undiscovered? Even as the courtroom drama begins, the nation understands that the arrest of one man may have merely interrupted a larger threat, one that could resurface without warning, reminding everyone how fragile a sense of safety can truly be.